Are we rolling? I don't know who I'm asking. I'm the only one here. Hi, welcome back. Nice to see you again. Back in my home. Today's recording, which you will be viewing in just a short minute, was actually in Matthew's house. It was the first time we recorded in the same room in quite some time. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time that we video recorded while we were in the same room. So that was interesting because we were just staring at ourselves the whole time and talking, which was nice. I think it probably was better than looking at you people. But, today we're going to get into some of our regular comic book, movie review, silly antics, some of our standard anti-social justice warrior philosophies that we often get into. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun. Enjoy the show. I know I did. I'm pretty sure Matt did. He's not here to comment on that. But, I feel comfortable speaking for him. I think I know him that well. I mean, we're on the show together. No, really though. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for joining us. Have fun.
You shut up now.
Mikasa är sugkassa. Välkommen Shivu. Let the party begin!
Your ears you keep, and I'll tell you why.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Take this quarter. Go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face. Good day to you, man.
I broke my back.
Look at that fucking bone.
I don't want to sound like queer or nothing, but I'm really
Commence. Get in here, bruh. Can't have me in stage center here like this. Let's turn the audio up a little bit so we can sit back, relax, stare at ourselves while we do this.
This is a unique way to do it.
We haven't done it like this yet, where we're looking in a mirror as we converse.
I don't like the look of myself.
I don't like the look of you either. I can stare at these pugs all day though.
They will.
Yeah. So we're here in Matt's house. We haven't been together in so long. No. I could just reach out and touch the man. We've been doing this over Zoom for a while, and honestly, I don't even know what we were going to talk about today. We're doing. I know there was a UFC last night, but I wasn't able to watch it due to intoxication issues.
Yes, there was. There was a big UFC card last night, so I don't want to spoil it for you.
We'll get back to that. We'll do a recap on that one. Yeah, after I get to watch it. But let's talk about the first odd thing that I have encountered lately. Have you seen the movie Serenity yet with our boy Matthew McConaughey?
No, I did see it pop up on online. I think I saw it on Rotten Tomatoes, and people were pretty divided on it.
Well, it was a weird movie. That's the thing. Is like it was. I've been passing by it, and I was just looking for something to watch while I was like doing my homework or something. And I got maybe like an hour in, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
So it wasn't a good homework watching movie.
No, it was super duper weird. It was like it wasn't just like a background movie because it was like a mystery. It was like technology and fantasy fused together. At one point, he has like telepathy with his son. It was super bizarre.
I feel like McConaughey he had that big resurgence from like 2012-ish was the time frame, or 2011. He had like a string of really good, interesting movies that he did. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see him fall into like a bad pattern, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, I wouldn't call this a bad movie. Bad would be strong wording, but weird. It was just weird. It was almost like Swiss Army Man level weird.
Okay.
It just,
yeah, that makes sense when you put it like that.
I definitely called all the plot twists, like everything that was going on. I was like, I think I know what's happening here. Like the second they gave us any clues, but it was just. I also kind of didn't know what the fuck was going on most of the time. It was super just strange. The way the characters interacted with each other and how they behaved, the type of language they used. And of course, Anne Hathaway comes in and just overacts the shit out of.
She's I just saw her in. My wife was watching Ocean's 8 the other day.
Oh God, that must have been a great movie.
I couldn't even sit through it. It was just so stupid. I mean, it's like anytime they do the whole. Like, it was kind of like what they did with the female Ghostbusters, and it's like, they're like, yeah, we're just rebooting this movie, but now we've got a female cast. We're getting real crazy.
Right.
And it's
very
like,
progressive.
It's like, it would be one thing if they just maybe threw in a few new female cast members. It's like, why do you have to make it a thing that it's
right.
It's like, who cares? And like the characters, there was a scene in the movie where one of the characters, they were talking about something, and then one of the girls, she's all, come on, don't be a pussy. And like the way she said it was just so like,
it's like a forced, like,
girl. It was super forced,
yeah.
like super
trying
forced.
to make a point, like, don't be a pussy.
Yeah, and it's like, most of them don't talk like that. I don't even know that,
I mean, they might say shit like that, but I can see that in a movie coming off like really.
I think
like they were trying to do a thing.
It was the way
like,
it was said.
Yeah.
It was just like, but there was like, that's just. Yeah, obviously I'm nitpicking, but there was like tons of that throughout the entire movie where they were just compensating and trying to, like, yeah, girls can be this way too.
Yeah,
and it's
right,
like, God.
right.
Like even
girls can be vulgar.
Yeah, even a smart girl's gonna watch that and be like, "This is so stupid."
Yeah,
like this is just so forced.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it comes off disingenuine and like we're not really doing this. We're doing this because we're trying to make a statement, not because this is like how we would portray these characters.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was kind of like, I've been seeing more and more of that online because have you heard about all this like Captain Marvel backlash?
I haven't heard any of the backlash. I know there's like a big you go girl movement behind it.
That's kind of the thing. There's all these, so what happened was Rotten Tomatoes, they have their audience score where it's the amount of people that want to go see that movie. Mm-hmm. And it used to be at 99%, and then it dropped all the way down to like 30%, which is like.
Let's make sure I'm not like sitting in the middle here.
For a Marvel movie, for just any movie, that's incredibly low. Like typically those scores are going to be in the 90s. Like because people would have to go on there and specifically downvote that movie.
Right.
But what it was is basically a bunch of internet trolls. All these guys. She had made some comments before the movie came out about how she wanted the people that reviewed the movies and the media tour that she went on. She wanted it to be more inclusive and to include more people of color and more women and less 40-year-old white men. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And which is like. I see where she's coming from in the sense that like, okay, yeah, that's fine. If you want it to be more inclusive, great. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure most film critics kind of fall into that category.
Right.
They're going to be 40-year-old white men. I mean, critics have always been. If you could go back to Chasing Amy from the 90s. Kevin Smith movie, and there's a line in that movie where the two Ben Affleck's main character and Jason whatever his name is, his main character, they're comic book writers, and they're talking about their audience, and they're like, our audience is predominantly overweight white men and underweight white men.
Right.
It's like that's just what it is, man.
Right.
That's what.
Well, when you're speaking to a specific audience, that's who you're speaking to. It's
right.
Not,
I don't.
This was the whole thing that guy, the Google programmer employee, got in trouble for about.
Oh right,
that paper that he wrote about women, that he was accused of being misogynistic when his whole thesis of his paper was that the subject matter that they're involved in has a certain focus group. Like, it's mostly men who do this job.
I mean, how is it any different than...
So it's impossible that you would include as many women in the work field. You would have to be excluding so many men who do that job and work hard for that job. There would be it would be a much more massive injustice in the inverse.
Right.
You know, it would be more exclusive than it would be inclusive to make that switch.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It's like it should be so plainly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like I teach Pilates, and it's 99% women.
Right.
Men don't really do Pilates.
That's why he teaches Pilates.
But I mean, if I was like, well, I'm only going to start teaching Pilates if there's at least 50% men in my classes, people would be like, you're an idiot. That doesn't make any sense.
It would be sexist if you didn't have 50% men in your Pilates classes.
So that's the ironic, and that's the funny thing about the whole thing, is that these like super, I don't even know what you call it. I don't know, but these super like social justice types.
It's a social
they're
justice
trying to
word,
they're trying to swing the paradigm one way, but it's in an unrealistic way, and it's just kind of alienates people. And it's like, you know, it's just like the same thing with, you have something like a Etsy shop or Pinterest or something. Girls are going to be more into that,
right?
Just like guys are going to be more likely to work in a fucking coal mine or work on
in
telephone
a shop
poles
or
whatever.
Shit. Yeah,
Like,
they're
just drawn towards these things for a reason. That's the way that it's a biological thing.
Yeah. And more than forget it even being biological, the fact is that it's the census.
Right.
It's what they're doing. The fact is there's literally more men doing these jobs. We're not saying that there shouldn't be more women doing. That was actually that was the second part of that paper that the guy wrote. It was like he was promoting the idea of getting more women into that field to make it more fair, for it to be a more even ground. And fuck it, if that's the message you get from this, hey, women, get into it. Become film critics, and then let's include everyone and different varying perspectives on the way that the way that movies are critiqued.
And that is a good point. And there is, I guarantee, if you were to do like a poll right now, but just film critics across the board, male, female, whatever, I guarantee there's way more female film critics now than there was in the 90s or even the mid 2000s, you know? Because if you go on like a lot of these, like I watch all these things on YouTube, like movie fights.
We've got a harsh snore going on behind us.
Molly, calm down. Sorry, these pugs snore pretty bad. All of these things, a lot of these videos I watch online, like movie fights, and it's all film critics, and there's a lot of female ones now. So it's like, come on, just fucking do the media. Quit. You're an actress. Just be an actress. Quit fucking, stop with the shit.
Yeah, no, it's
you're not Gandhi. Your job is to fucking entertain people.
Yeah, it's not about like changing the fucking world. I mean, portray your message, preach your moral, but don't get carried away with it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think a lot of people take the fact that they're in the public eye as not an excuse, but like a reason why they have to be like why they have to like make their point. Like,
right. They think that they have a responsibility to
preach their message and get the information out, get the message out.
But isn't there something inherently there's almost something inherently obnoxious about it?
Yeah, it's condescending.
Because people are already looking at you like, and this isn't to say that, a celebrity hasn't worked hard to get there where they are, because 99% of the time they probably have. But people are already looking at that person like, you hit the fucking jackpot. Like you made it. This is awesome. But
you're gonna tell me fucking.
But now you're gonna come in here and you're gonna tell me how I should be living my life.
The things that I should think are important.
Yeah, like you're gonna
from your fucking pedestal up there.
Yeah, it's very obnoxious. So it's like you're treading the line when you do that as a celebrity.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's some silly shit.
Yeah.
Let me see. Have you seen Polar yet? On Netflix?
No.
Polar's pretty good. It's I never read the graphic novel, but it's based on a graphic novel. It's Mads Mikkelsen. I don't know how you pronounce his name.
The guy from Doctor Strange. He played the villain.
Yes, the bad guy on Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, yeah. And he's like this old retiring hitman that they're trying to kill him for his pension.
Okay, no, I have not seen
It's
this.
pretty good, man.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
It's like just silly enough to make it like to make it work. Like it's kind of it's really badass, but it's also like just got enough like comic silly vibe to be like, this isn't too much, you know.
Neo
Like-
noir. Oh, it kind of looks like a the poster. Even the poster kind of has like a comic book anime type feel to it.
Well, yeah, it was a graphic novel, I'm pretty sure. Like, that was what made me check it out. It was, like, based on the graphic novel. So, when I started watching it, I was like, this is pretty fire. It's it was a good watch, for sure. A lot of action. And it's on Netflix. Fucking watch it for free, guys. You ain't even got to go to a Redbox for this shit.
You know what I watched last night? I don't know what drove me to watch this kind of randomly, because I haven't watched any of it in a while. But I watched an episode of Batman, the animated series.
Oh, yeah. Can't go wrong.
Well, and I hadn't really sat through a whole episode in a while, but what made me think of it was there was this website I go on called Collider. They had a countdown of like all the best episodes of that show. So I watched the one that was voted number 1, and it was the Mr. Freeze episode.
Oh, yeah? I remember how you had your dick all hard for that last time when we were talking about
Really?
it.
Did I? For
Talking
Mr.
about-
Freeze?
You're talking about like the emotion and stuff about Mr. Freeze from the Batman the animated series.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, we were talking about that on one of our previous podcasts.
Well, yeah, it was really good. That was kind of exactly what I was gonna say. It was like very.
Oh, I'm sorry to step on your toes.
No,
there,
if I think when I was talking about it before, I was probably like describing it the way I remembered it. Mm-hmm. But after having it like fresh in my mind and literally just rewatching it, man, it was like, yeah, you feel really sad for Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
It's like he's not even really the villain in the episode.
it was just the regular like 20-minute episode, or was it?
No, it was the regular.
Because
no, it was the regular 20-minute episode.
it sounds so rich. With
I think they ended up going back to-
emotional development.
It actually was. They crammed. I realized. Well, that's what I realized when I watched it. Was how good that show was at cramming in a full like narrative story arc within that little 22-minute window.
Sure,
you know?
yeah, they did. They did.
And-
I remember watching. Actually, when I was a kid, I remember watching the Scarecrow episode, and how like he got into his parents being killed, and how Batman was this distinguished man without fear, and that was how. And they didn't just like say that and then move on and have that be like what made the villain interesting. They like established that they took time and wove that into the character persona, and then they had the villain shatter that by giving him fear, and then him having to redeem himself and come back.
Well, that show just did such a good job at creating sympathetic villains. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that people forget when they're trying to make good villains in movies. Is anytime they take a villain, and this was something I complained about when we were doing our thing on Venom.
Right.
Was how the villain was so generic and he was just evil for no reason, and there wasn't any. If you take any great, with the exception of a few, but for the most part, when you have a good movie villain, there's always like a reason why they became the way they are, and they flesh it out, you know.
Right. Batman is like all his villains always
with the
have
exception of with the exception in some cases of like the Joker, where they just make him like they do give him backstory.
Yeah,
but for the longest time he didn't even have a backstory. They just kind of like.
Well, the Joker is like, I think like the main thing with the Joker is supposed to be that there isn't like a real known backstory to him. Like there's a number of different origin stories.
It could be. It's kind of like a pick
from.
your own adventure
Yeah.
with the Joker.
But I think he's supposed to like the canon concept of what the Joker is he does like they don't know where he came from. He's just a mystery.
Right.
He just came from fucking nowhere.
Well, and I think
he's
that's
this wild man.
I think that's the best version of him. Like it's still to this day.
It fits his persona. It fits what he stands
because
for.
that's part of
and
part of the fun with him.
Yeah.
Is like
he's
till
the
this
wild
day,
card just being dropped into the mix and creating chaos.
Yeah, until this day, when you go on, they have these really interesting YouTube videos where they try and break down how they think. They dedicate entire videos to breaking down how they think like Heath Ledger's Joker, like what his background was, and they're like, okay, well, he had to have been ex-military, the way he deals with explosives and like, you know, little things like that.
Yeah.
And then so they have these theories online, and I think it was Patton Oswalt had like a really interesting theory where he said that the Joker was actually he was a Iraq war veteran who had PTSD, and like this whole like detailed, but they have like tons of these breakdowns where everybody kind of
like,
gives
in
their
like serious detail.
Yeah, and just the fact that it's one of those things where like you kind of want to know, but it would ruin it if you knew. Like it's better not to know, you know?
I mean, there's that vague background in the Killing Joke that kind of makes it makes a lot of sense and it's interesting, but also you come out of that book and that book just feels like a closed loop, really. Yeah. Because when it ends, it sort of is like Batman killed the Joker. Like, you don't really know what happened. It's like if he killed him or not. It just sort of ends with the question. And the whole background of the Joker with that is it's like its own standalone thing. It doesn't really translate into any other telling, any other like the series or the movies or anything. So that's fun for that particular situation, but when we get into the grander scope of like the actual character, it's just more interesting to think of him as this anomaly.
Yeah.
That just exists in the Batman universe, in the DC universe.
Well, and that's kind of how you have to think about him, because there's so many different versions of him, and he's been reincarnated so many, like just like with any comic book character, it's like you don't have just one version of that character. Like you have, you know, like with Spider-Man, you have Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, you have Jack Kirby's Spider-Man, Steve Ditko's Spider-Man, there's all John Romita's Spider-Man. Like there's all these different versions of that character, right? You know, and everybody brings their own. You have your general outline basically, but everybody kind of brings their own flavor to it. And that's kind of how it is with the Joker. Like at this point, you have so many different versions of the Joker. You know, you have the fucking fairly recent one where he like cuts his face on and sews it back on.
The Death of the Family.
Yeah,
Joker.
that one.
Yeah. I was reading that for a while.
Yeah.
I never finished it, but I got like halfway through it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's what I heard.
It's very intense, like very like he fucking massacres everybody. It's called Death of the Family because it's supposed to be in a later period of time where Batman had kind of become, as the Joker sees him, he'd become soft because he has this series of people. It has like everyone involved as Batman's sidekicks. What is it? It's like Batgirl, and then there's like Nightwing, and then there's
Batwoman,
Jason Todd, Batwoman. There's
3 different Robins.
Yeah, there's all the different Robins, and just one by one, it just has this little narrative where the Joker is like kidnapping them, torturing them, fighting with them, and then eventually he, in some fucked up way, kills them.
So it's kind of like Jason Todding everybody.
Yeah. But like,
in case
Jason Todd is one of them.
In case you guys didn't know, he does it to him again? What a dick.
Yeah.
In case you guys didn't know, back in like the 80s, we might have mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Back in the 80s, they had the original Robin, who had been with Batman for years, and that was Dick Grayson.
That was Dick Grayson, who became Nightwing.
Yeah, so that was Dick Grayson. He had been with Batman for years. And then he went off and became Nightwing, and they replaced him with a new Robin named Jason Todd. And apparently he was like this really smart-assy character, and everybody hated him collectively. So they one time did this thing where as the comic was over, Joker had beaten Jason Todd, and he was torturing him. And they had a phone line.
Crowbar.
The crowbar, yeah. They had a phone line that you could call, and you could basically call and say whether or not you wanted this character to die. And they basically like overwhelmingly voted that they wanted this character to die, and they killed him off. But after they killed him off, people were like really pissed about it, because when your casual fan, when they would hear, oh, DC Comics killed off Robin, they would assume that it was the original Robin, not this new annoying Robin. They hadn't read this comic in years, so they had
like
no
Robin
clue.
Was Robin,
right? Yeah. And then they got a lot of backlash for that because it wasn't as common back then. Like now, fuck, every character has died and then come back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like...
But it really added an interesting like angle to the Jason Todd character and how everything went with that.
Because they brought him back and they actually made a really good... It was actually... And they did the identical... It was funny, around the same time period, because I remember I was reading both of these comics at the time. So when they brought Jason Todd back, when Jim Lee was working on Batman in like 2002 or 1 maybe, and they brought him back... then... And then they did the same thing with Captain America around that same time. They brought, and I think Captain America ripped it off of the Batman stories, but they brought back Bucky as the Winter Soldier. So it was kind of a parallel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Parallel deal that they did there.
Yeah, that is kind of similar. I don't even really think of it that way.
Yeah, but the Captain America one though for me was a little more shocking and a little bit more powerful, because that Bucky character, he hadn't been seen since like I think the 50s was when his character was killed off. So that character hadn't been seen at that point in like 50 or 60 years.
Like the actual
character. He remained dead for a long fucking time. Whereas the Jason Todd character, it was like maybe 15 years or something like that, but still pretty interesting.
Yeah, it still made like an interesting story. Like there's a really good Batman animated movie based on it, the Under the Red Hood. Yeah. Under the Red Hood was really good, and then didn't mean to rhyme there, but it's great, right? I can't even help myself. Sometimes I just freestyle. But the Batman Arkham Knight game, that was the whole Under the Red Hood story.
You know what's weird about Batman is that Batman if you think Batman of him in his most successful incarnations, right? Arguably the two best Batman stories are Batman the Animated Series and Batman the whole Arkham series of video games. Did like a really good job of serializing it and putting it in this concise kind of, whereas like Christopher Nolan did his thing, but it was very much, that was almost like a weird kind of Batman hybrid.
It was too because it was too realistic.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like too much of a.
It was Batman, but it wasn't. Yeah, you know what I mean?
They made too much of like a if Batman was real.
Exactly.
And Batman's not supposed to be real. Batman's supposed to be like a gothic.
Yeah.
Like.
Hey, shit! Stop that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Batman's supposed to be like a gothic, sort of almost cartoony kind of like the Tim Burton. I feel like that got like the essence right. It just wasn't the Tim Burton Batmans. I just feel like they didn't do that good of a job.
No. It was similar to just like Christopher Nolan's Batman was. This is Christopher Nolan's Batman. Tim Burton's Batman was this is Tim Burton's Batman. Right. Like it was very much. They went into it and they really made it their own. They didn't really. Guys, stop! Let me shut this window.
Yeah.
Pug problems.
Yeah, pug life. Yeah, I mean it's renditions, it's its own their own style. You take this character who's established, and then you put it through the lens of these visionary directors, and that's what they came away with. I like for Batman. I feel like the universe that Batman resides in is more similar to the way that it was portrayed in the Tim Burton movies.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the Tim Burton movies were more campy.
So
less dark and more silly. They
started to progress well with the Batman 2, Batman Returns. They got a little darker, I think, but it was like a weird. Batman Returns was a weird movie when you really look back. Yeah, because it was like, and there was a lot of it wasn't even really a kids movie when you think about it.
No, well, I don't think none of them were kids movies.
I remember even as a kid watching that movie, knowing that there was a lot of like sexual undertones with him and Catwoman's character. Yeah. It was very like just. Ugh.
Yeah,
it felt sleazy.
Yeah, it felt sleazy. It just had like a. But it had this weird, like, rigid tone with the characters. Like, not just how Batman couldn't move in his suit like that.
Yeah.
That made things difficult to follow, but just the way that the characters interacted, it didn't seem to have like a natural flow.
No,
like,
and I think we had talked about this before, how it felt like a play come to life. You
Right.
know, it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
big and it's very, but yeah, it didn't feel real by any means. It was just like a big cartoon, like you
Right.
said. Is that the one where I can't remember if it was in that or if it was in Batman 1? Doesn't matter, same universe. But there's that scene where the robbers come in. I think it was from the first one. These like robbers come in, or some of the goons, and then Batman, he's in Bruce Wayne. He's as Bruce Wayne. He's not wearing a suit, and he pulls out a one of the, what do they call those? Those poking sticks for the fireplace, fire poker. Or
Fire
whatever.
poker?
Yeah, he pulls out a fire poker, and he's like, "You guys want to get nuts? I can get nuts." And he like slams it on the ground. Do you remember that?
I do.
It's Michael Keaton
Michael
going,
Keaton.
"You guys want to get nuts?" And it's like this stupid, like you just can't take. I love Michael Keaton in those movies, but
Oh, yeah,
you can't
he's fantastic.
He's in a weird. He's hard to take seriously as a badass, but did you see him in Spider-Man: Far From Home as the Vulture?
I didn't see Far From Home. I saw the.
He's fucking good in that.
Yeah, I saw Homecoming. He was
Homecoming.
Great. Yeah.
Sorry, not Far From Home. I was thinking.
I was gonna say he was great in
And
Homecoming.
in Homecoming, dude,
Yeah.
the car scene where he's dropping Peter just so happens to be going to the dance
he's
with
on-
his daughter or
okay,
whatever,
yeah.
and he's driving him in the car.
Oh, and they had that little moment where they realize who they are.
yeah.
Like,
But then
they
Michael
both
Keaton
kinda- yeah.
turns around and looks at him, and he gives him the talk, and he tells him
And he's
knows
giving
who
him
he
like
is.
the talk.
Yeah, because he knows, he figures out who he is, and he's like, "I'll kill you and your whole family."
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, he's good in that movie.
Yeah.
He fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton's such a good actor.
I fucking love Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Always have. Michael
Yeah.
Keaton's a great actor.
I really, you know what, I think a underappreciated aspect of Michael Keaton's acting is how good he's not like really, really outwardly funny, but he has really good comedic timing.
You know what I watched? Yeah, he does. You know what I watched recently that this reminds me of is I watched an uncensored version, and that's really key. I watched an uncensored version of Beetlejuice.
Ah, okay.
Now, have you
yeah.
ever watched Beetlejuice not on like the USA channel or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I have a lot.
I didn't realize how like vulgar and how like gnarly that movie is.
It is. Beetlejuice was like my brother's favorite movie.
Yeah.
So here's when we were younger.
It was great. It was so funny, dude.
When we were
I forgot
younger,
how fucking funny that movie is.
On VHS, my brother would watch Beetlejuice on repeat.
Uh-huh.
I would watch Terminator 2 on repeat. That was like
Those
our
are great
two
choices.
major movies. I couldn't even count. I would watch Terminator 2. I'd watch it once, pop it in, rewind it, watch it again.
That's right.
I'd watch it over and over. Yeah, Beetlejuice is like, especially too back then in the 80s, because movies
Also,
were
a lot of the shit a lot of the stuff that wasn't censored out, I didn't get it when I was a kid. I didn't
Yeah,
get,
that's what I was
like-
gonna say.
I didn't get the
That's-
sexual content as much, but
Well,
like,
and that's kind of like Tim Burton is actually for his he's kind of, I feel like Tim Burton is almost kind of goofed on now, because just because he's so stylized, it's almost like you see yourself become like a parody of yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's so good at that. He's so good at including those sexual undertones, and like he's especially when he was in his prime, like when he
Right.
did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and he did. I love Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That's one of
Pee-wee's
my
Big
favorite.
Adventure is huge.
It's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. But he's so good at making. Here's how I describe Tim Burton. Right, you have an infomercial.
You've
And
got
it's
an
like,
infomercial.
It's an
Let's
infomercial.
start there.
It's an infomercial, right? And you know how infomercials, especially like let's say early 2000s, late 90s infomercial where everything's super bright and they're like, "We got the ShamWow," and everybody's like, and then sometimes you'd see these infomercials, right? And then they would be like, I remember they had this one where it was like this blade and they would like carve through meat and stuff.
The Ginsu knife.
Yeah. Tim Burton would be like, you have one of those bright infomercials. But
Tim
then
Burton is a knife that could cut your shoe in half.
No. So you have one of those bright infomercials, but then the guy in the infomercial just takes the knife and stabs the person next to him. That's like Tim Burton. He's so good at presenting this big, bright painting almost, but then including this really, really dark subtext.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that was like Edward Scissorhands, like in a, just with a bow on it. Your whole impression that you made there, just like the bright...
I could have just told you guys that it's like Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, that would have made plenty of sense. And plus, most of you watching or listening have definitely experienced Edward Scissorhands. Yeah, it's that pastel neon neighborhood. All the houses look the same. The streets basically just like a. It looks like a fucking board game. It looks like you're in Candyland or something.
And Edward Scissorhands is probably the best example of that.
Yeah.
The contrast between the bright pastel neighborhood, but then the dark.
Yeah, but he makes the dark shit almost innocuous in a way because it's like cartoony. It has this sort of, but it is still dark. It's still like evil and dangerous, whatever feel that you want to get from it. But it has this sort of like swirliness.
Yeah,
like this kind of.
He almost kind of invented his own genre in a way.
For sure, he did. He definitely created that style. Like, I don't think that was a thing before he was around.
No, not that I can think of. I mean, there's had to have been other things that I'm sure if he had a real, deep film geek here, he could probably tell us exactly where he pulled elements of his stuff from.
We could Google it, I'm sure. But
yeah, but
off the top of my head, no, I don't see anything like that.
Yeah, he's very unique style.
Yeah.
So who is? I mean, since we were talking about Batman and all of his different incarnations, who is the definitive Batman by your standards?
Michael Keaton all day.
If I'm going off,
honestly, we haven't had a good Batman. I don't really think we have.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. You said that because I was trying to remember the point I was getting to with the Batman thing, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that in all of Batman's incarnations and all the different Batmans that we've had, I never feel like we've gotten a real definitive one.
And there's so many. I feel like there's so many people who could have been.
I know that's the disappointing thing. Like I feel like there's elements you could pull from each Batman that are good. Like with Keaton, I feel like it was just his overall. I feel like he played the best Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I was gonna say that exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, he was the best Bruce Wayne. He had that like cool, charismatic, funny, like rich guy kind of feel, like just good at that.
Yeah, he was just the best mix. But then you had there.
But he just wasn't buyable as a Batman. And also in the Tim Burton movies, the worst thing about them was that the Batman, first of all, the action in him was like non-existent,
right? And
the Batman suit, the fact that it was like he was like a fucking mummy, like he couldn't fucking move. Like Batman has to be like a ninja.
How did you feel about Val Kilmer as Batman?
Honestly, I watched that one less times than I think any of the other ones.
That's kind of a hard one. I feel like it must have been forgettable because I just don't remember much about it.
I don't remember.
I remember him coming off very almost kind of geeky because he wore these glasses.
Right. He was like really reserved as a Bruce Wayne. Like,
he wasn't charismatic enough to be a Bruce Wayne.
He wasn't very outspoken or anything. He just seemed like he was this rich guy that people keep talking to because he has a lot of money and they care what he has to say because he has a lot of power and authority with that money.
It's Christian Bale. He was a solid Bruce Wayne.
He just seemed like, I don't know, like I get that he was supposed to, but he seemed like he was like trying hard to be Bruce Wayne because they were expressing like how he's like, you have to put on the act and everything. And so he would like play that character, but he threw like another layer of acting over it. Yeah. To play Batman playing Bruce Wayne, and it became very I don't know. It didn't work for me.
Christian Bale was probably my least favorite Batman.
Yeah.
Because that voice, man, who let him get away with that? The voice.
I don't know.
Who fucking let him get away with that? How could they not think of the most obvious?
Do it.
That was one brilliant thing that the Batfleck did. They put the voice box, and I remember even watching fucking.
That's way cooler.
Batman.
It sounds
cool. Awesome.
It's way cooler.
I remember even watching Batman Begins and the whole Nolan trilogy, and the entire time from the very beginning, I was like, this guy's like a multi-fucking zillionaire. Why doesn't he just get a voice?
Why doesn't he just get a voice changer?
The first thing I thought of was Scream when they use the voice changer. Like, just get a fucking voice changer. And in the Batfleck Batman, They actually made it sound really cool.
Did you call it the Bat Flick?
Bat Flick?
The Bat Flick?
So now that we're on to Bat Flick,
Ben Bat
where does he
Flick.
rank as Batman? I think people gave him way too much shit. I don't think he was like horrible.
He was fine. He just wasn't.
He was okay.
He wasn't good.
He just wasn't the right. Ben Affleck is just not inherently like dark enough to play that character,
or good enough at acting.
Ben Affleck. Here's my thing. All right, you give Ben Affleck the right role because there's movies that I absolutely love Ben Affleck in. There is, but
like Geely.
yeah, like Geely. But there's movies that I hate him in. The movies that I love him in, I really like him. I love him in Good Will Hunting. I love him in Chasing Amy. I love him in The Town.
Mallrats?
The Town.
The Town. He was great in The Town.
I love him in The Town. Mallrats. He is. I do like him in Mallrats. He plays a douchebag remarkably well.
What does he say? What does he say on The Town? He's like, "We got to go somewhere. We're gonna hurt some people, and you can't ask me any
and
questions
Jeremy
about
Renner
it."
hops up and he's like, "Okay,
you
who is
driving?"
it?" Yeah. So he's and Andy directed that one too. It's a bummer too when you think about it from that perspective because Ben Affleck was on such a roll, and him jumping into I bet you anything.
There's big shoes to fill being Batman.
Well, here's the thing though, he had already failed at Daredevil. And he was probably like, all right, now we've got a bigger character, which, to be in his defense, though, I don't think that...
It's not his fault that he failed.
I was going to say...
Daredevil was an awful movie.
Yeah, I was going to say...
it didn't sink Colin Farrell's career.
No.
Colin Farrell was great, actually.
I
loved him.
He was funny as... that. Okay, I tell you what, that bullseye in Daredevil... That bullseye belonged in a fucking Tim Burton movie. That was Tim Burton.
Yeah, that was a Tim Burton-esque Daredevil, and I liked it.
Speaking of which, you got to watch the last season of Daredevil. They, no pun intended, they nailed Bullseye.
Yeah, no, they did. And that
see
pun
that?
was 100% intended. And I'm pretty sure we talked about this.
We did talk about this.
Yeah, we did.
All right,
we did.
Because they fucking... If you guys haven't seen season 3 of Daredevil...
It was great.
They did Bullseye about as good as you could ever do Bullseye. I mean, it was pretty incredible.
They really got in deep with his character, his psyche, and how he became Bullseye.
And the way they intertwined it with Kingpin was just like... It was fucking great.
Yeah, it was spectacular.
All right, so moving forward from Batflick, who do we cat? Well, I know we've talked about this before, but we never really got down to the nitty gritty.
We ever had an answer.
Yeah.
Who is going to be our next Batman when Matthew and I cast the upcoming Batman series?
It's hard because you know what makes it really hard for me is that when I envision Batman in my head, right? I picture
I can't contain my erection.
That. But also, I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's instilled in me from Batman, the animated series. That character, he's like this archetypal, probably looks like he's what, like 30...
Christian Slater. That's our next Batman.
So, that Batman in that series probably looks like he's about between 37 and 38 years old. So, he's a...
Late 30s.
Aged man.
Yeah.
Probably like 6'2", 220 pounds of solid muscle.
Oh, solid muscle.
You have this ideal in your mind of what this guy should be, and it's hard to fill that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no actor that's going to fit that.
He has a specific face shape and everything that it's got to be that guy.
Right.
And he's out there. We just got to find him.
I know. Man,
I'll
because
do
I
it,
can't
Matt.
think of any actors.
I'll be Batman.
I really can't think of any actors off the top of my head that would... I'm having trouble with it. Some people, there was some what do you call it? People were saying that, what the fuck's the dude's Oscar Isaac? Some people were saying Oscar Isaac.
What the
for a
fuck is
little
an
while.
Oscar Isaac?
Oscar Isaac was in Drive. He was in the Star Wars movies. I'll pull up a picture of him so you can see.
Drive? Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
No.
He was
not even a little bit.
He was in talks to play some role.
If they make this fucking guy Batman, I'll kill him. I'll assassinate him.
I like Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, but he's not Batman.
But he's not. Yeah, he's not Batman material. They got to go.
Yeah, he was.
Direction.
He was. Fucking what is that movie called? About the robot. The.
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. He was the Ex Machina guy.
If you guys haven't seen that, watch that. I love
the
that
dance
movie.
scene. Just gets me going.
The dance scene is hilarious.
It's
so funny. And he's like. He's like,
you're wasting your time talking to her. Like I told you.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be wasting your time if you danced with her.
Yeah. And then he's like,
dance
and then he's like, one of the guys says something to him where he's like, Somebody says something about tearing me apart or tearing something apart, and he's like, "Why don't you watch me tear up this fucking dance floor?" And he's like, "It's like that's a fucking good, really good movie.
Yeah,
really fucking good.
It's a really good movie, and it's weird. It's just like 2 or 3 people are actually in the movie.
It's trippy
the whole time, and it doesn't really need anybody else. They make it work. It's super good. And it took me forever because I felt like I'd never seen that guy before. But he's like the oldest Weasley brother from the Harry Potter movies.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, okay, that's Domhnall Gleeson or Domhnall Gleeson.
I don't know what the fuck his name is. And he was the guy. He was on The Revenant.
Yeah, he was in Star Wars too.
He was in a lot of shit.
It's Domhnall Gleeson.
Look, I can't even begin to wrap my
Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't wrap my head around spelling that name, but yeah.
Hey, this guy, I tell you what, this Domhnall Gleeson character, this guy would make a good Scarecrow or Riddler. I could see him playing both.
Yeah, I could see that.
Look at right there. That's the Riddler, dude.
With his hair all fucked up like that.
No,
he's like
I'm
balding.
wrong. You know who that is? That's the Mad Hatter.
Dude, that's Mad Hatter. He actually could play a whole slew of Batman villains.
He really could.
Honestly, I could see him being the Joker if they dolled him up the right way.
That crossed my mind as well. He could play any one of those fucking characters.
Yeah, he's great. And you know what is I'm really worried about that's coming out soon is is the Joker movie with fucking
how
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, we were both drawing a blank on that one. That's
yeah,
man. It looks so bad. It looks like it's shot with like a fucking iPhone.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks like a Steven Soderbergh movie. Like it looks really bad.
God, dude, you nailed it. It does. It looks just like a Steven Soderbergh movie. And, Steven Soderbergh has done some movies that I like, but I don't know if I want him doing my Joker movie.
No, I don't want him to do like a movie that I need to be like visceral and exciting and kind of like... I get it that it's psychological, but Steven Soderbergh does some pretty shitty movies too. Like,
He's pretty hit or miss for me.
Unsane? It was fucking awful.
No, I didn't see that.
It was so bad. Like, randomly Jay Farrow pops up and he's like a main character in it.
The last Steven Soderbergh movie I saw was Logan Lucky a couple years ago.
Oh,
it was okay.
Logan Lucky, that was the one...
it was Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. That was,
it was okay.
It was actually funny. That was a good movie. It was way better than Unsane. Unsane fucking sucked.
Steven Soderbergh's filmography, man, it's kind of he's got an interesting filmography.
I didn't know he was Ocean's 11.
I always forget. He did all of those movies. Ocean's 11, 12, 13. He's kind of known for that. Because I remember seeing this movie way back in the day, Out of Sight with George Clooney.
Yeah.
It was with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. And the thing that always stood out about that movie to me, George Clooney is doing time in the movie, and they have a prison scene, and he's doing time in Lompoc.
Oh, really?
They call it Lompoc.
Lompoc. They always do.
Lompoc, yep.
2 years. Lompoc.
But
I'll die before I go
Because I guess Lompoc is like a white-collar prison.
Is it?
Yeah. So he's doing time in Lompoc. But that actually, Out of Sight was a really good, like... It's like kind of like the quintessential Steven Soderbergh movie because it's like he plays a bank robber. It's kind of like the sexy heist type, his whole fucking thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. Todd Phillips is directing that Joker movie, the guy who did The Hangover and all those. He typically does comedies.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but it just looks really it looks really raw. It looks like it was filmed on an iPhone. Actually, it looks worse than if it was filmed on an iPhone. It looks like it was filmed with like a disposable camera or something.
For those of you that don't know, Todd Phillips, if you guys saw Old School, he directed that, and there's that scene where that guy shows up and he says, I'm here for the gangbang.
Here for the gangbang. The guy with the mustache, that's him.
That's Todd Phillips.
He also has a moment in The Hangover where he's like going down on some girl in the elevator. Isn't that what happens? Or
I think
she's
so.
Going down
I think
on
it was
him
in deleted scenes or something.
No. They go into the elevator.
Oh no!
He's
The Hangover. Yeah, I was thinking of Old School. Yeah, that is in The Hangover. Todd Phillips is pretty hit or miss too. Because if you go through this, he has some really good ones. Like he directed Old School. He directed Actually, this is a comedy I forgot about.
Starsky and Hutch was funny,
Starsky and Hutch was so funny, and I feel like nobody ever talks about it.
Tell you what, I like your blonde friend there.
He's so fucking funny. Starsky and Hutch is hilarious.
Fucking, they go to the prison and it's fucking Will Ferrell. He's
he's
drawing dragons.
Oh,
I'll tell you what,
they
like
call him the
blonde friend there. Yeah, they call him the dragons. He's the
and he has
like
doesn't he have him put his nipple?
right?
He's got him, because he has a dragon on. He has him put his nipple up against the thing. Yeah, God, that movie's
so funny.
So he's pretty hit or miss. But he's
Due
doing
Date.
everything.
I love Due Date. Due Date's so
I've
great.
never saw. That's the one with.
You haven't seen that with
No.
Zach Galifianakis and
Downey Jr.
And Downey Jr. Dude,
No.
it's so good for like
to
a
watch
buddy
that. I'll
comedy.
have
Fuck
to
yeah!
watch that.
You should watch it tonight.
Well,
he should watch it.
He's doing.
Together.
He's heavily involved in the Joker because he's directing, but Bradley Cooper is involved. He's producing it. Fucking Bradley Cooper, man, that guy's in everything.
Yeah,
he's got his finger in the pot.
He is. He drank the Kool-Aid for sure. He's
fingering Hollywood right now.
Yeah,
all of Hollywood.
He's got his fingers and his penis in Hollywood.
You know,
all the way.
If you look at the cast for the upcoming Joker movie, they've got De Niro in there. That's pretty much
what?
it. Yeah, De Niro.
Well, that's the whole cast.
You know what?
As
though?
the talk show host,
It doesn't
even
really
have a name.
It doesn't really mean a whole lot these days because Robert De Niro has done a lot of fucking stinkers.
After Grudge Match, I think he just ran out of steam.
Yeah, I think that was... Look at this. Brian Callen has a role in the upcoming
As
Joker movie.
Javier.
As Javier. I could see Brian Callen playing a Javier.
Yeah, I could almost see Brian Callen playing the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could be like a weird, bizarro version of the Joker.
I don't know about bizarro. That may be going too far, but definitely like a weird version for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like a different angle, a different take on the Joker.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens with the Joker. I don't know.
Big things, man. Big things.
There's some other... we got Avengers Endgame coming up in like... Fuck, it's literally like less than 2 months away.
Yeah. Well, it's next month, man. We got that. Well, we have that marathon coming up.
Yeah, I've done zero. No, I can't. I know I've done a lot of training.
I'm glad to hear you admit to that because I'm pretty behind. But I
could run a half right now probably without stopping because I've been doing a shitload of jump rope.
Yeah.
So like my foot durability is really good right now. My ankle, my calves, they would all hold up pretty good. Yeah. But I just got to get in the habit of running. It's just, you know what, man? Preparing for that marathon last year, it sucked.
Yeah.
It's not a fun thing to prepare for at all.
No.
It's so monotonous and boring.
Just doing tons of running? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. I got really sick after I went to the mountains. Mm-hmm. And I came back and I basically just lost all my cardio. Like I was doing really good. I was pretty consistently running like 5 to 9 miles at a time. And then I got sick when I went to the mountains. When I came back, I just like didn't run for a couple weeks. When I started running, and I had like fucking zero cardio. So I've been building back up from there.
Isn't it a bummer how easily you lose your cardio when you get even just a little bit older?
Man. God, it just goes right the fuck away.
I could literally, I'm telling you, dude, when I was running a lot, when I was like 19, I mean, from the time I was like 16 to the time I was like 23, I would run all the time. And back then, I would only need maybe 3 runs to get in running shape.
Yeah.
I'd have the first one, I'd be pretty sore the next day, but then I'd recover. Then I'd have the next one, I'd be a little more or a little less sore. And then by the 3rd run, I was good.
Yeah.
It did. I realized how fucking long it took me this last year.
Yeah.
It was like a solid month and a half.
You just gotta. You have to stay consistent, dude. That shit just once you take a break, that shit falls right off.
And the thing was too, it was when I was running. Back then I was 170 pounds or 175 pounds, and then now I float around like 190, and just having that, even just that little bit of extra weight, even though it's muscle, it's just extra weight still, and it's just harder on your body.
Sure, yeah, for sure. Well, we've talked about this before when we talked about heavyweights and stuff, about how being bigger is more stress on all your systems. That isn't just your joints and everything. That's your heart too. Your heart has to pump more blood, more oxygen to bigger muscles. Like when your body is just more massive, this is you fucking little people think you're goddamn lucky stars how little blood you have to pump around. Mm-hmm. You think it's easy being this big, running a lot? We're about the same size. Having all this muscle, trying to pump blood to all this muscle while we're running around everywhere. Yeah, what are you doing? We're doing chest. All right, chest. Yeah. No, that's a real thing though. I mean, muscle, fat, whatever you fucking got, it's all putting weight and strain on your cardiovascular system, your ligaments, your bones, all of your supporting fucking frame. Like when I run, my fucking feet get fucked up. We've talked about this before. Yeah. But that's not a little people problem. Little people can run for fucking days because they don't have 200 pounds slamming into their fucking really poorly constructed feet with their hundreds of little bones.
When we first got Lily, now she's still a pretty hefty girl. If you look at her,
she can run for days.
She's not a tiny pug by any means, but she's got some fat on her belly. But when we first got her, she was so overweight.
Yeah,
she's
a big girl.
My mom just fed this dog
like a pug with a little meat on her bones, though.
My mom just fed this pug nonstop. She was, I swear to God, dude, she was like twice this. She was just like
she was a marshmallow.
But I took her, I molded her. She's got some pecs on her.
Mm-hmm. She's got her working out.
Get her on a side profile here. She's got some developed. She's got some.
She's got a little shape. Hey, look, you know,
she's got some.
Her chest sticks out more than her belly does.
It does.
I think that counts for a lot.
That didn't happen before. She got some rolls.
She's looking at me with so much shame in her eyes.
She's a little self-conscious about her rolls.
Of course she is. I would be.
But you know what? She's doing good.
If you were doing this with me, I would be self-conscious.
She's turned it around. All right, you can go back to sleep here. She's turned it around.
And if you can't see what's going on behind me, that's who's snoring.
Yeah, there's a lot of pug action here.
Yeah.
Well, with Avengers Endgame coming out so soon,
well, what reminded me of the marathon is that it's coming out like the same day.
And I don't they're so secretive about this fucking movie. Nobody knows anything about it.
Yeah.
They barely released like one teaser trailer. It makes me wonder if they're even going to release like anything. I don't think they are.
And I wonder if you know.
Do you think they are?
What?
If they're going to release any like a major trailer leading up to it, because they still haven't given. You know what? They're probably waiting. It's getting
really close, but they're probably waiting for like release week. Well, it's going to get really close.
You know what they're doing? There's some kind of a spoiler in Captain Marvel, I think. So I think they're waiting for that. Captain Marvel comes out this weekend.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's. Did you hear that? You know they had to get a butt double for Brie Larson on that movie.
Brie Larson doesn't look like she has much of a butt.
She has a pancake
doesn't
butt.
Surprise me.
They had to get a butt double for her.
That is hysterical.
Let me see if I could find
Poor Brie Larson. I don't know how she suddenly became the most famous person in the world.
Isn't it weird how that happens sometimes? It's like they just
who fucking decided that Brie Larson's the best? Like that she's just got to be in everything. I got nothing against her, but she just didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like horribly flat right there.
It just looks like a normal butt. Like they needed to have somebody with like a perfect butt or what?
I just guess they wanted more meat on it. I don't know what the deal was.
So they're just showing Brie Larson's butt. I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's small.
Yeah, it's not anything special.
Well, you know they needed a butt double.
No, they got a butt double.
Oh, here's the photo.
Oh no! Well, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the uniform. I don't know.
Scarlett Johansson walked by and they were like, this is a problem.
You are not going to be popular in Marvel.
You're not going to work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm afraid this is not going to do. It looks like a normal butt. I don't know. Like
yeah, I think
the
costume exaggerated it. Yeah.
Who's that? Is that
I don't know.
It's like Stephen Dorff grabbing her arm.
Did you see the new? Did you see?
True Detective?
Did you see the new? No. Did you see the new trailer for Hellboy?
Is that her? You think that's real?
I don't know.
I did see the new trailer for Hellboy. We're looking at naked pictures of Brie Larson right now, if you guys are wondering what's going on.
What did you think of the new trailer for Hellboy?
It looked good. It looks really cool. It's the guy from... It's the sheriff from Stranger Things.
David Harbour.
I like him.
Yeah, I think he's a good... People were really...
He looks surprisingly almost exactly like the Ron Perlman Hellboy. Like, his face just is shockingly...
So, I agree. And here's what I honestly think happened.
They did it on purpose? Or
No.
Like,
Ron Perlman, he was getting up there. Last I checked, Ron Perlman is almost like 70.
Yeah. He's old as fuck. And
Ron Perlman's been around forever.
yeah. And he's never been a good actor.
He's 68. He voiced Clayface in Batman the Animated Series.
He did. And he does the voice narration for like the countdown and stuff for the UFC. Every time they do those things, that's Ron Perlman.
Him and the other, what's the black dude's name that I love?
With the most prestigious moment
Keith
in
David.
all of
Keith David. Him and
love Keith
he's
David.
the white Keith David.
Dude,
David.
Keith David's way too cool to be put in a category with
All right,
Ron
you're
Perlman.
right. Yeah, Keith David is way cooler. But all right, so here's what they did though. I'm not in the conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories. I'm not in the
conspiracy series, all right?
No Alex Jones over here, all right?
All right.
But this is what I theorize happened.
Is what you theorize?
They wanted Ron Perlman originally to be in these new Hellboys, undoubtedly.
Oh, unless it's a reboot, then they just fucking couldn't. That
No,
wouldn't make
they
any sense.
wanted Perlman, okay?
They wanted the pearl.
He died.
They were reaching for the pearl, guys.
He died. And they had this brilliant idea. They said, we're going to take his carcass, we're going to bring it to a taxidermist.
We're going to wrap it
We're going to
around the
remove
guy from...
his skeleton and his vital organs. And then we're going to wrap it around David Harbour's body.
I like it.
And
then give him the Hellboy makeup, which is
and
really
then they
just
did
a
the
couple
Hellboy
of
makeup
horns.
over. Yeah, it's,
For Ron Perlman.
if you really look at it, I mean, that's clearly David Harbour. That's really Ron Perlman's physique with the chiseled abs and the giant pecs.
Have you seen him when he was young? He was shredded, dude.
Was he? I need to look this
Ron
up.
Perlman was like fucking...
Okay.
He was like a bodybuilder.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
You never saw him in fucking what was that movie? Something about like Lost Children, City of Lost Children.
No.
That was a cool movie, actually.
So I'm looking at some recent pictures of Ron Perlman from the set of.
Still looks pretty built for an old guy.
He has that. He's got that used to be.
Yeah, used
very
to be
muscular.
shredded.
Yeah, he's got that look, for sure. He's got some titties on him.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're 70...
No. I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Like, he's got those, like, residual titties.
Yeah, those leftover...
They were once pecs, but now
Yeah.
they're deflated. He's a little older. Oh, yeah, he was a pretty big dude.
Yeah, he was like a fucking built-ass dude back in the day.
Yeah. He's strikingly ape-like.
Yeah, no, he's a horrible-looking person. Just...
Something else.
Well, that's the whole Hellboy thing, is like he literally just looks like Hellboy. They just painted him red.
All right, but I'm looking at the pictures from the Hellboy
This
costume.
is a hysterical choice of pictures. So
I forgot how ridiculous looking that is. I mean, those are so clearly not real pecs.
Oh yeah, no. That was not his body.
Not that I ever thought they were real pecs, but now in retro, now that I've
it's like
gotten older and
it's straight up. It's the Batman suit.
It is the Batman suit just glued onto him. Yeah. Yeah, Ron Perlman. Interesting. Ew.
Oh,
gross.
is that Ron Perlman's anus?
I don't know. I think
Why
we
did
pulled
we
up a
click
picture of
on
Ron
that?
Perlman's anus. Just like gross.
Oh God, that's horrible.
That's really quite awful.
I know what hell is.
It's really
Ron
quite
Perlman's
awful.
anus.
And then also I'm coming across some promotional pictures from the first Hellboy movie of him and Selma Blair, and these are just some god-awful promo pictures that they... That's an action figure.
No, those are action.
But this is clear. This is a promo
Are you sure? That looks like an action figure, dude.
I don't think so.
I think that's an action figure. Look at his arm. Look at his non-Hellboy.
That's definitely not an action figure.
No, that looks like real Selma Blair, but...
You think they photoshopped the action figure into that shot?
No, maybe it was like a giant, like, life-size action figure, and Selma Blair has its arm around her.
Yeah, that's possible. Well, in any case...
Regardless.
David Harbour as the new Hellboy. Yeah. So, anyways, people were really like shitting on that trailer online.
Really?
I
I thought it
didn't
looked
get
good.
it. I mean, I was like,
Well, there wasn't much to it. It just looked like...
yeah, it was pretty like, to me, it just looked like a just kind of like a regular fucking superhero movie trailer. I don't know. Like, what more do they want?
I don't know. Do people want it to be something special? Do they want to see something different? Something unique?
You know,
Is that Tom Hardy just looking terrible?
I pulled up a picture of Tom Hardy from Warrior, and people are always talking about like how jacked he was in that movie and how great his... I gotta say, I'm not impressed with his physique in that movie.
He doesn't look good in that
No,
picture.
this photo, he looks
He's
quite
all like
awful.
soft and fluffy. Like,
Kind of, yeah, just looks like a dude.
he looked pretty shredded in the movie, but not in that picture.
I think they angled him up in the movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I'm sure.
they got some good
good
angles.
lighting on him. Yeah, that's kind of what they do.
Warrior, yeah. That was the first movie, I think, where people were really... Yeah, they definitely angled him up. Because you see some of these other pictures,
Yeah.
and they got him all chiseled looking. He's got some impressive traps, I'll give him that.
Oh yeah, he's all traps.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got some traps on him, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, geez, man. That can't be... Those can't be his traps.
those are tattoos, dude.
No, those traps,
I
though,
know,
those
but that
can't be his.
tattoo definitely exaggerates those traps.
I'm not... But it's the not tattooed side that's more impressive. His traps are definitely asymmetrical.
Yeah, well, it's the lighting, man, for sure. Like those are some monstrous traps. Make no mistake. What does he do? He just cleans all day.
He just hitting shrugs.
He's
nonstop.
fucking shrugs
All he's
and
doing is
cleans
shrugging, man.
for 6 hours a day.
It is
Like,
kind of ridiculous if you look at it, because look at his,
No, I
his
see
traps
it.
are extremely
Well,
well defined. He's got no tricep.
yeah.
His tricep is non-existent, so you know he's
Man,
not.
that
bench
shit just
pressing
really
nothing.
makes me want to hit the shrugs for sure. Like, well, you know what? Squats too. Squats will do that to you because you got to
Yeah.
like when you're doing high weights on your
deadlifts,
squats.
too.
Like yeah,
Why didn't he get some traps like that for Venom?
I don't know, man.
That would have
I
been
don't think
perfect
he was.
for
I don't
Venom.
think he was shooting for trying to be like muscular in Venom.
Yeah, but wouldn't that, if you would have saw that, if they would have had a scene in that movie where like the symbiote is crawling up his back and his traps
I
are all bulging.
remember Eddie Brock from the comics and from the cartoon being a big old beefy dude.
Yeah,
he was like
built.
a big football player, like dude.
Yeah, he was really
so,
built.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's before and after. Yeah, so it is like a
Yeah, that must have been like week one of shooting. the
week
movie
one
or
of the
something.
Warrior workout
Yeah.
for Tom Hardy.
Yeah, this. You know what? Let's get away from this. This is divulged
We're staring.
into
You know,
just-
we've gotten way too into just staring at men's bodies for this podcast. Let's talk about something else.
You know, you started this with the whole Ron Perlman, young Ron Perlman.
You know what? I don't. I won't take credit for that. But how did we get into that? There was something.
We were
that
talking
led to
about
that.
Hellboy, the new Hellboy. I think that was
Young
it.
Ron Perlman had quite a body on him. No, in fact, if you look, no, I'm just kidding.
We just circle back around, keep looping the same conversation over and
So
over.
here's a pretty neat thing we got going on that we started with today.
Yeah.
So we've been fucking around in space, and now what I want you guys to see here. Oh shit! I forgot we left it on, so I can see everything on the game right now.
Yeah, it's still going there.
Yeah, the game's still going, but we turned the TV off, and it's really neat. Yeah, we got.
Cool.
Where are you? I can hear you talking to me, but I don't see you.
No, I'm still
Matthew?
here. I'm
Matthew, I'm scared. The spider's jumping on me, and I can't defend myself. I don't know what to do.
It's if you guys have not tried virtual reality at this point, you need to do it. I mean,
You've just
there's
got
no
to.
reason why.
I mean, if that doesn't look cool to you, just try putting it on.
yeah,
Change you.
it's pretty
See
crazy.
if you can see what's going on here. If I do that, I don't think you can.
I think you can kind
You can
of
get like a little idea what's going on in there.
yeah.
give it a little
you can get a
shake.
glimpse into
Check it out, guys.
You can get a glimpse into.
A glimpse into
Black
cyber
hole.
reality.
One thing I will say. That's why I've got these little bands on.
Yeah.
They're supposed to help with like motion sickness. I didn't really get it too bad, but there was one game where you're like walking on Mars or something, and you have to kill a bunch of spiders, and you quickly kind of move forward.
Yeah, you
and
move back and forth a lot, and it gives you this weird, like, vertigo.
You do get it for a second. It's not, like, bad, but you do feel that slightly.
Like, for sure, when we wrap this up, we're going to play some rounds on Blood Rush, though. We're definitely going to...
Is that the horror movie game?
That was the horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting back into that.
Yeah, the horror movie game is Blood Rush, if you guys...
Yeah,
it's pretty
So
good.
it's from... if any of you have ever played Until Dawn, Until Dawn is... sort of, I don't know how you would describe it. It's like a choose your own adventure type horror game. It's like it plays like a movie, and it's really good. Like, it has real actors. It has the guy from Mr. Robot on it.
Oh,
It
Rami
has
Malek?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's him. It has the girl from, like, the daughter from Remember the Titans, the little blonde girl.
Hayden Panettiere.
Thank you for knowing all the names of people I don't know. I can describe them. Matt knows who they are. No.
The funny part is like, in person, I am horrible at memorizing people's names.
Only celebrities. He only knows.
Yeah.
He only knows famous people. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So there's them. Mm-hmm. There's a few other people. I can't remember who they are, but I know they're like in movies. But it's just like a scary game. You play through it, and you make decisions. People die based on what you do, and there's like problem solving. So from Until Dawn, they used some of the same some of the same stuff from that game, and they moved it into this like roller coaster style VR game where you're shooting fucking clowns and targets and shit, and like you have monsters and ghosts trying to kill you from this cart. But yeah, it's like a related game, but it's really loosely related. Mm-hmm. Blood Rush. You'll like it, folks. Yeah, so get a VR, because you should. Mm-hmm. So from my not inconsequential research that I've done, I went with the PlayStation VR because I already had a PlayStation, so why not, you know?
Quick question. Why would one... what would be, say, to stop you from getting an Xbox VR?
So... What?
No, I just wanted...
No,
I was joking. I wanted to see
actually-
if I could actually get you to answer that question seriously.
No, so the PlayStation VR actually can be, it's like compatible to be plugged into the Xbox, but the hardware isn't compatible in the same way, so it doesn't actually have the motion detector thing on it. So if you're looking around and stuff, like you can watch stuff on the screen of the PlayStation VR on an Xbox, but you can't actually interact with it the way that you could. So like you would have it like, so when you're playing non-VR games or watching movies and stuff and you have the VR on, you have your choice of like screens, and you go into this cinematic mode where everything's blocked out, but you have this giant screen in front of you. So like the small one is like a 70-inch screen. It's fucking huge. It's a big ass screen. And then it goes up to like 170-inch, and you just have this enormous screen that you're like 2 feet in front of a fucking movie theater. It's crazy.
Will you be able to go back to playing regular video games after this?
Absolutely. I like video games. Okay. I don't always want to have my head fucking stuck in something. It's nice to play something on a screen. I still watch movies and stuff, but...
It's kind of like... This is like smoking a vaporizer. Playing a regular video game is like taking a hit off a bong.
I guess so.
Yeah.
It's quite a crude reduction of it. But I see what you did there. No, this is almost like, this is fun, but it can be almost like it's too much. Like it's like a commitment to play. You gotta lock yourself into it. Like a video game, I could just pick that up and play around on it and then turn it off when I'm done.
I could see people, this would be like a fun thing to pull out at a party.
For sure. So far, that's been my favorite thing about it, is like showing it to people and having people play on it. Like,
yeah.
But this little fucking thing pulled out. Pop that back in. Yeah, so what's really important is these little rubber things on here. They block the light out, and that really helps you get absorbed in the game. But they get like popped out sometimes. They're a bitch to put back in. Because it never does what I tell it to do. Nobody ever does. Nobody listens to me. Yeah. But anyway, you have any movies or things you want to talk about from here? Or you want to get back to playing some Blood Rush?
Let's get back to playing some Blood Rush.
All right, guys. It's been fun. We will be back with a recap of the most recent UFC after I get a chance to watch it. What did we talk about? We had some interesting stuff today. We just kind of talked about some media stuff. Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you. We'll see you next time, guys.